Hi, this is Aditi and Sherrie. We are raising world children, and today Sherrie is with us. She is the founder of Creative Mermaids, and we are so happy to have you with us. I have been following Sherrie around on Instagram, Facebook, and she has been living this fascinating life on a boat recently with her kids, and I have. She's been traveling the world, and I have been wanting for her to come on our platform since ages. I've been stalking her and trying to get her on here, and she's finally here. So yay for that! And Sherrie, tell us more about yourself, your lovely family, and of course the beautiful group Creative Mermaids, please.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, this is a little bit also what we want to talk about today with this whole like elusive internet. You know, the whole nomadic digital lifestyle is not always as easy as people make it look out to be. Like, you are hunting internet and it doesn't always work. Yeah, I'm Cherie. I started the Creative Mermaids in April, which was right when we moved onto the boat. So that was always fun, you know, launching a business right when you're also turning your world literally upside down. The goal is to sail around the world. So we'll see what happens. We live in Berlin, but we left from Poland. That's where our boat was. And we sailed as a family as far as Portugal. And that took about 6 months. And then now Patrick is crossing the Atlantic as we speak. And I'm back in Newfoundland, Canada, which is where my parents live. And I'll be here for the holidays because as great as living on the boat can be, the idea of, well, a month really. He did a week from the Canaries to Cape Verde, and then 3 weeks. He should be there Monday. He's still not there in Barbados. But I'm like, 3 weeks on a boat with 2 small children. They're 2 and 4. No, not even I can do that.
Well, there's something to be said about the bravery that it takes to take 2 kids that small around the world, let alone on a boat. But I love what all you share, the good, the bad, and the ugly on your profiles. And it is so inspiring to me, not just the beauty, but the small moments that you share. And I know there is a lot to be said about the fact that there is this good life on Facebook and good life on Instagram, you know. But there is so much more to be said about the messy middle. And that's what you tell everyone about. So tell me a little bit more about what you think.
Yes, absolutely. And this is what the Creative Mermaids is about. So before we moved onto the boat, I was an author and I was putting out books. I still publish books, but I realized that also one of the things I really wanted to do, especially seeing that disconnect as we got ready to move on the boat. And me and Patrick also did a lot of motorcycle trips, which were my original books were about, our different motorcycle books, trips.
Wow.
And there is definitely, and I'm not saying it's not fantastic, but a lot of people were coming to us and saying, oh, it looks so fantastic, it's a dream, it's so fantastic, and blah blah blah. And it's true, it is, but it's an adventure. And this is something that I think is also very true of the online life, very true of family life, is that it's an adventure, and an adventure is not a holiday. You don't just get to pick the good 2 weeks where you turn off the rest and you just enjoy it and someone else takes care of most things for you and then you go back. This is now a life, and this is true for it's a lifestyle for me and Patrick now. It's true for writing. I mean, this is also something that I found a lot, especially with Instagram and whatnot, is that people are always putting out the shiny parts. And this is something that I really wanted to share. And sometimes I'm always a little bit worried because I'm like, oh, you know, I don't want to overshare the messy middle. Because, you know, like there is a difference between being honesty and a hot mess. And it can be a fine line sometimes of, okay, am I oversharing? Am I looking for the wrong kind of attention? But I think that as long as you look at yourself and think, okay, what's my intentions here? And my intention here is really to show everything, but in a positive way. So I want to show the negative. Like I want to say, look, this is hard. But by saying that's okay, that you can look at this and say, this is hard, but then decide for yourself. Is this my truth? Because first off, looking at Instagram and anything that's social media, you have to kind of be worried, okay, how much is true? You know, you get that little tiny snippet.
Yes.
And then of course the snippet is then edited and filters are laid on it and everything else. But even beyond that, let's just go with the fact that it's 100% true. This person has a really fantastic, perfect piece of life that they just shared with you. that doesn't mean it has to be your perfect piece of life. I think we all have so many different versions of what's good for us. You know, some people want to be a doctor and they really want to be a doctor and this is their passion. And other people are doctors because their parents are like, you're going to be a doctor and that's what's going to make you happy. And we grow up listening to that. And it's not even coming from a bad place. Because I think when it comes from a bad place, you're like, no, this is okay. I'm walking away from your advice. But advice that comes from the heart, from people who really care for you, that can be very difficult to ignore or avoid because you're like, no, this person loves me. And so this is what I really want to share with people is that this is my truth. And in the hopes that it helps you define your truth. Is this worth it for you or not?
Yes.
You know, I want people to walk away going, okay, I'm struggling too, and that's okay.
Yes.
Or I'm struggling too and it's not okay. I'm leaving. You know, that's also okay.
Yes.
But that people come to that definition for themselves. Is this really worth it or not? For me. And that's what I try to do with Creative Mermaids and with my Instagram feed.
Yes, of course. And for everything, I believe nowadays there's such a big illusion that because of social media rising daily, that there is, because people just want to share their good parts. No one wants to share the fights they've had, or the kid tantrums the kids have thrown, or the bad laundry days, or or the kids crying when the Christmas tree was being put up. Like today I put up my elf and my son was laughing about it because I put his Iron Man helmet on him. Oops. On camera. And my son was laughing his head off, but my daughter started crying miserably because she was like, that's my brother's helmet, give it back. And I had to put that online because that's how life is. You think it's going to be a perfect moment where your kids would be laughing and there is one crying and one happy. So you can't win,
Exactly.
And I honestly believe that when you want people to cheer for you, you owe them honesty. I honestly feel that
Yes.
A lot of time people mistakenly believe that everyone's going to be there for you only for your happy days. But I think when people feel that what, you're a human being, I hope that that's what I'm putting out there.
Yes, exactly.
When I say that what, I'm having a bad day, hey, what, I need a hug. I don't mean to say pity me. I mean to say the fact, hey, what, I'm human and I have bad days too. And it's not just in my life is all beautiful and wonderful. I'm having a bad day, and that deserves to be online too, because this is a memory of my life as well. And
exactly.
I think
and this is just it.
That there needs to be more of that by people. And I hope that this conversation is a beginning for a lot of people to do that.
I hope so too. And like I said before, I mean, you don't have to like turn the video on and
exactly
have yourself bawling or reenacting the fight. You don't have to do that, but you can put up, we just had a fight. You don't need the details, but you need to know that I had a fight with my partner, my children, myself, and I feel bad and I need that support. And that's fine. And I think this is where the messy middle is. We need to embrace it. Because like often talk on Creative Mermaids too, is that how we always, and a lot of online people too, they talk about the caterpillar and they talk about the butterfly, and like, I'm going to take you from a caterpillar to being a butterfly, and we're all like, yes, this is what I want. And the Instagram feed is the butterfly feed, and occasionally this little caterpillar beforehand. And no one talks about the fact that everyone has to go into the cocoon and dissolve and become a bubbly mess before you come out the butterfly.
Oh, that's beautiful, Sherrie.
Because it's so true. This is just it.
It is.
And too many of us, though. Yeah. No, I was just going to say, too many of us, though, and then that's the last thing I would say about that, is that when we're in this messy middle and in this cocoon where we have to be to get out, we blame ourselves then for being in it. Because we look at Instagram or Facebook or other social media and we say, well, this person went caterpillar to butterfly. They did. They just didn't tell you about the messy middle part. And we do ourselves a great disservice by doing that, because we start blaming ourselves and thinking there's something wrong with us. Why is everyone else not feeling like they need a hug today when I do? There's something wrong with me, when really there's nothing wrong with you. You need that hug. You deserve that hug. They're just not talking about it the same way we are.
I honestly feel that there is so much bravery in sharing your story, in sharing a moment of your life, that telling people that that is what my writing began with, actually taking any bad moment of my life and then turning it on its head and then seeing what the positive about it. that's what my writing had began with, and slowly it evolved into what Raising World Children is today about.
Which I love.
About having dialogue about topics like this, where you see what is behind the scenes, because there is so much talk about empowering kids and making them see what they are and everything like that. But there is a lot of work that needs to be done for kids to understand that, what, those likes that you get on Instagram, they don't really mean anything unless you have 5 friends who you can actually talk to, even if it is online, even if you can actually have a conversation with them, because I mean, I like, people wouldn't know this, but Sherrie and I know each other since April, since
Yes,
just
yeah.
before she was supposed to leave. And she is across the world, she's hardly ever there, but we ended up being such good friends. And I've not even met her in person even once. And that's what we need in life, a few people who you can actually have a real conversation with, not just those likes. And we need to be authentic in whatever we are sharing online. So whether it doesn't have to be 1,000 likes, it has to be 5 real likes by real meaningful people. And that's what it is all about. So yeah, so I hope our kids can actually learn from us that, by when we are being authentic, and maybe a few years later when they go through our news feeds and they see that, mom was honest, mom said, hey,
Yes,
what,
she walked her walk.
yes, you know what, it's okay for me to be a little bit cranky online as well.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's this honest, and it makes you very vulnerable.
Yes.
There are costs to that, of course, because there is the chance that you put yourself out there and someone comes slamming down.
Yes.
And what I always try to remind myself about is that typically there's 3 responses. First off, I put myself out there and there's crickets. In which case, it's like, you know what? You took a chance, and you know what? There was no consequences except for whatever I tell myself about the crickets. Or I put myself out there, and actually there's 4, sorry. I put myself out there and people like it, and I get people back going, there's not a lot of people who like it, but the people who do are really supportive. And like you said, the 5 real likes.
Yeah.
Or you put yourself out there and some fool, jumps all over you and does say something to you. And it's, it's never worse than what you say in your own head anyway, but because it's in your head, it's like, oh God, someone else recognized it.
Yes.
But actually, when you really think about it, people who are happy, people who have self-esteem, people who are like, you know what, I'm working on myself, I don't judge other people, they don't stop to make comments about something they don't like. They're not going to jump on you and say something mean for what you put out on social media. So I learned that if someone really wants to come after me, they're just to be ignored. Now, if they're coming up with constructive criticism, that's something different. That's number 4. And that's something really different. Like then we can have a dialogue with respect, and we can learn from each other. Completely different. But if I'm opening myself up and some jerk jumps on me, they've got their own issues. And why am I letting that person, of all the people in the world, stop me from sharing and helping? Because some other angry person who needs to deal with their own issues has something to say.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's a lot where I think cyberbullying stems from. It's a lot of kids out there who are just sad and upset about themselves, who need to just vent out somewhere, and they don't have a space, because after a certain age, I think kids tend to go back into their shell. And I really hope my kids always have an open line of communication with me. But let's face it, a fact is that after a certain age, they love their friends more. That just happens. I mean, that's happened with me. I expect it to happen with them, but I hope that, they eventually learn, because I always had a very open relationship with my mother. Like, no matter how sad I was, I would at least come and tell her what it was about. I might not discuss with her, but I would tell her.
Yes.
So I hope that, they have friends whom they have an open communication with. So they have those friends who can come and tell them, what, this person is just being a jerk.
Yes, exactly. And that helps a lot.
Yes, exactly. Because I think cyberbullying happens more than anything when a person ends up being alone, when they don't have a support system that to tell them that, what, just forget about it, just let it go, kind of thing. And
exactly. They're to be pitied more than to let them stop you.
Yes.
And this is where we need to flip the story, is that we often let them stop us.
Yes.
We have to stop letting them stop us. We have to start pitying them, and we can still hold the olive branch and be like, you need help. But if they're not willing to do it, well, then I can walk away from that too. I can't change people.
Exactly. One of our writers, Janie Saylor, she did a beautiful article about cyberbullying, and one of the things was that you know, you need to be honest in whatever you're sharing, just because of the fact that kids today need to understand that, you know, social media does not define you. It is not totally what you're about, you know. And it is wonderful that, you know, you're coming forward, bringing this topic to tell everyone, and I love it. We were just talking about it the other day, that when I see those dolphins, you had shared this beautiful post, I think in September, early in the morning, the dolphins were this, and I was like, oh, I wish I was on that boat with Cherie, you know, or in that moment. And then the second moment was like, I don't think I have the guts to do that with my kids, though.
But it was not even guts in this case. It really is like, it's a small space. It's not guts, it's sanity. You know, like this is...
No, but honestly, I find you and your husband, of course, your family is really brave, and I admire the experience you're giving your children, even though they're that small. I honestly feel that, you know, there are a lot of times that the kids do imbibe this experience,
and that's what we're hoping.
Yes.
Because I mean, this was something also that me and Patrick found, because we traveled a lot before we had kids, and this was something we really want our kids to learn, is that when you're growing up, everyone has like this secular type thing. You're closed, and it's very much like, okay, we're the good guys and they're the bad guys. And Patrick shared this in his first book that he wrote, and I translated it for him, but he called it like the evil neighbor syndrome. And so like each country he went to, so first he started in Germany, and they were like, oh, don't go to Poland, they're gonna rob your bike. You know, you go to Poland and they're like, oh yeah, you know, we're great, but don't go to Russia, they'll rob your bike. You know, you go to Russia and they're like, we're fantastic, but watch out for the Siberians. They're the only Russians you need to worry about. You go to Siberia and they're fantastic. And like, everyone thinks that the guy next door is the person coming after you. And as you travel, you realize that everyone's the same. You know, maybe we're afraid that someone's going to hurt our families.
We need a link to the book. We need a link to the book.
I'll actually share the, I'll link the book, but also share the video that I shot of him when he come home.
Definitely.
Because the whole trip, he went through South America. We tented, you know, like we were doing all these things that are very dangerous. And you know when he hurt himself? When he got back to Switzerland. You know, he fell up the stairs and ended up having to go to hospital. Like, his whole trip.
That's life.
You know, but exactly, you know, like he's sleeping in a tent, you know, we're meeting all these different people, and the only time he hurt himself was back home. And I think this is essential. There's a lot to say
about that. We can do another video about how that is.
Exactly.
That's right, isn't it? Because you think that, you know, the world is a dangerous place, and it's not. You know, it's actually not. It's I mean, even within my home, I have my mom and dad. We have lived a very sheltered life in Kuwait, because Kuwait is a very small country, and me and my brother, because we had to go back to India to do our studies. We have had to visit a lot more cities than they have. We have experienced a lot more different type of people than they have, and we keep telling them, it's like, the world is not the way you think anymore. It's changed.
Yes.
And they're like, no, it's like this and like that, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's changed. It's evolved, you know, things have changed so much. And now that they've retired, I keep telling them, you need to travel, you know, it will be such a beautiful experience for you. It would be wonderful if you just took a world tour, and it would open up such a vast world for you. I mean, literally.
Yes, exactly.
Do a real Instagram feed.
Yes, and this is something that I want my kids to have seen the world, but also then if they go into school and a teacher who's older turns and says something like, these people are blah, 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 they can stick their hands up and be like, actually, no, we've been there. You know, we know that that's not true, you know, and to be able to have that ability to be like, well, actually, just because they're older and they're telling me something, I've had my own experience to know that it's not true. I think that's a huge gift. I think that'll be something that I hope they really integrate into their very being, to find things out for themselves and realize that just because even their truth, someone else's truth might not be their truth. And not to judge other people's truth so much as to be, okay, well, that's how you feel. Now I need to find out for myself if I feel that way too.
Yes, because
I think that's huge.
Agreeing to disagree is becoming a very lost art. Having open conversation has become a very lost art, because just a few days ago I was somewhere and people were having this conversation, and literally I saw people divide away, because people were like, we cannot stand there and talk about this because they would feel upset. I'm like, I honestly felt upset, because it's not even like they were different types of people, they were the same people, but it was a ridiculous conversation. But they were like, no, if we contribute to this conversation, we're going to end up hurting their feelings, so you might as well just move away. I was like, wow, this is what the world has come to, where, and everything is just a fad, things have, the focus of moderation has gone. The focus of moderation has completely gone, which is why all this, I don't know, this, the good life and this has become such a big issue these days. I feel that, we need to really get the kids to understand that, what, you need to have a balance, a real balance in everything.
And I think this is also something that, like I said, we met a lot of people. That's now for the sailings we just started, but with the motorcycle travel and the books, we did presentations, we used to go to meetings and things, and a lot of people who hadn't done it or who just started it, who quit. And they would beat themselves up because they quit. But it was like, yeah, but again, it's not the moderation. Even in your extremes, you need moderation. You know what I mean? To realize that I'm doing something that's my dream, but just because I'm living my dream doesn't mean it's going to be fantastic all the time. Yes. There are costs. There are real costs to what you're doing. You question your sanity sometimes. Mm-hmm. You miss your family. You miss your friends. You miss your security. Like, there's all these things that if these are bigger to you than this idea of a dream, then maybe you just need a vacation. Take the 2 to 3 weeks, rent a motorcycle, and go nuts. Yes. That's fine. Yes. But again, so even I think this moderation thing is huge, and you need to take that even into your extremes, because you need to realize that nothing is black and white. It's all grays.
Colorful. I say it's not even gray anymore. I think there's no black and white, and we should say everything's colorful, and the colorful is in between as it is now.
That's true. Actually, I love that. That's so much better. Yes, that's awesome. It's all just different shades of vibrancy,
Yes.
And your shade might not be my shade, and that's okay.
And that's totally fine, because everyone, and I'm not being idealistic here. It is just the simple fact that, every person is different. Like just yesterday, I was having a conversation with another parenting coach, and she was saying that this is... not every child is same. Every child has different needs, and that's how we need to parent them nowadays, because nowadays there's different schools of parenting coming up, and like religion, parents are following schools of parenting, which doesn't make any sense, because every child needs a different kind of parenting, because you cannot just
even within your own family.
Yes, because you can't just have like one size fits all kind of thing anymore.
It would be nice, but it doesn't exist.
Yes, because now you have entrepreneur parents, you have parents who are working 9 to 5, you have parents who are authors, who are creatives, who are like you, who are world travelers. You can't just say, hey, what, we are going to do this kind of parenting, and it works. It doesn't, because people are doing different kind of having life experiences which are completely unique, which did not exist till 5 years ago, which is.
And this is huge. And I think this also comes down, I'm very guilty of this myself too. I need to keep learning and relearning this, is that I try to control the outcome.
Yes.
I really want to know that what I'm doing is right, especially when it comes to my children. Before my children, I was much more, okay, I can roll with this. Whatever happens, I can face the consequences. Yeah. But now with my little people, I'm like, oh no, I need to know exactly what I'm doing. Because if I mess them up, guess what? I'm going to mess them up. This is just it. Yeah. I might not mess them up the same way my parents messed me up. But you know what? My parents didn't mess me up the same way their parents messed them up, because you're just being aware of new situations, new scenarios, and you respond and you do the best you can within that. And this is why religiously following anything is never a good idea, because it's not the same for you and your children. It's going to be different. Maybe most of it fits, but not all of it. And if you're not flexible, you're going to jam it into something that doesn't fit.
Exactly. And that's all it is about. And it's wonderful that you're empowering everyone around you to understand. No, but it's wonderful. I've always seen you give out positivity to whoever you meet. Even if I see you read your comments, or if I see you giving a video training, or I see you talking to someone, it's always wonderful. And that's what you bring into your group, and what you bring to your planners. Even I've seen you have these beautiful planners that you have created. And it's wonderful that you're doing this. And thank you so much for everything. Thank
you for noticing. It feels wonderful. Thank you. Because you can try, but sometimes you feel like, okay, no, like you put it, and this is exactly what I meant earlier, that you just put it out, and you can't let that judgment come back, because you don't know. You don't know who's listening. You don't know who's heard. You might look at those 5 likes and be like, only 5 likes, but maybe 20 otother people didn't like it.
Because a lot of people are stalking
from it. Okay,
a lot of people are stalking you. A lot of people, I call them the silent people on silent. Actually,
Yes.
there's this actress in Bollywood who's called Kareena Kapoor. They say she stalks everyone, but she doesn't comment, or she's not on. So I call everyone the Kareena Kapoors of Facebook, because they don't really comment or like or anything. But when they meet you, they'll comment that, oh, you know what, you said this, or you wrote this, or whatever. So they are paying attention to what you're doing. They just don't want their friends to know that they know what you're doing.
Exactly. And I think this is also why it's important to know your truth, because if you're doing it for even one person, it doesn't matter then anymore. If you're like, I love this, I'm putting it out there, and I really hope it resonates with someone. But as long as it finds even one person, then all this stuff going on behind the scenes that you don't know about is still going on behind the scenes, and it doesn't matter anymore, because you're like, okay, I've let go of the control. And like, when it comes to my children, though, I'm still struggling with letting go of the control.
But they are young, and we all are learning, and like I say, that we all are learning together, and that's what we are trying to do at Raising World Children, is trying to get all us parenting people together, and amazingly positive people together, so that we can all learn from each other, and slowly but slowly we'll put those pieces together, and maybe we'll turn out to be almost perfect parents.
Yes, exactly.
No, but we might just end up creating good human beings, and that's all that matters. That's all we can wish.
And that's what I keep telling myself, is that in the end, as long as they turn out to be good human beings, I've done my job.
That's all we want. That's all any of us ever want, is our kids to grow up to have a healthy, happy life where they make good choices, good decisions, and help other people, be kind to other people, and understand when someone does not like their stuff, or like their posts, or doesn't comment on stuff. It's okay, because it's not a big deal. That's all it's about. So thank you so much, Sherrie, for joining us. This has been one of my best conversations so far.
Oh, yay, thank you.
I'm so glad that we could do this after so many delays, but it has. And I hope we can do it again.
Exactly.
Putting this out there,
worth the wait. And yes.
And for everyone, please do join her group, Creative Mermaids. It is. And what
the Facebook group. Yeah.
Next, Sherrie, please let us know.
Yes, well, right now I'm actually launching for April. Right now we're just doing the beta run. It's closing this week, so probably by the time this goes out, it's too late. But definitely jump on Creative Mermaids, and you'll know when it comes out. And so April is a 3-month program of getting your book out. The first messy middle draft.
Yay!
Yes, so if that's a plan for your next year, jump on.
Yes, so wishing you luck for all your future endeavors, and do let us know whenever you and your husband come out with all your new stuff, because we will.
Will do. I'll share as well the Evil Nabal story.
Yes, thank you, definitely.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our Facebook and YouTube channel. Take care and have a wonderfully positive day ahead.